Hi guys, here's the roll of the dice. Okay, here goes the roll, drum roll. Oh, Western. Okay, we're going to be doing a Western. As you can see, I've come up with a Western. It would have been better if I had written sci-fi, but Western was what the dice said. Because I asked on the forum what genre, and a lot of people said whatever genre a writer likes to write is what the genre the writer should use. So, this is a Western. The first tool I'm going to talk about is sort of an intel tool, but it's a business innovation tool. Remember, everything in this video is going to be about how you use intel tools, or the tools I've used in my intelligence background, to write. But this is one from the business intelligence world. This is an innovation tool. So you write down everything you know about what you want to innovate with a budget airlines. Airlines did budget through this sort of innovation tool. So you write down everything you know. So for us, we're going to write down everything we know about the Western genre. And I'm going to look at the opposite. So Westerns traditionally have a lone hero. So we could have a ensemble if we wanted to. So there's no lone hero. They had it's set in the frontier, which is when America was pushing west after the American Civil War. There's going to be a showdown between good and evil. There's always a showdown, and it's always normally done around like high noon or something like that. So it's a big contrast between good and bad. This may let us pull in a little bit of that lone samurai idea from, that's what the Magnificent Seven was, the Seven Samurai. So we've got that lone hero idea here. There's outlaws and bandits normally always, so we have to have outlaws and bandits in the story for it to be in the Old West because it was a little bit lawless. There's going to be a saloon scene. That's going to be the heart of the town where you can get a bed. It's probably going to be a brothel. You'll be able to buy booze there. There's probably going to be revenge because they didn't have the law to sort out the whole, he killed my dad, I'm going to take him and get him investigated, and they're going to do CSI, Boot Hill, and find him and then put him to court and whatever. So there's always revenge in a lot of these sorts of stories. Native Americans, because they're pushing further and further west. Stagecoaches, and really the stagecoach was needed. Horse and cart was needed. And what really brought the Old West to its end was the railway. Being able to move a lot of people and a lot of things very fast. Sort of that shrank the distance between the Old West and the big city, which meant more law and order came that way. So that will probably play a part. There's, people are very rugged and very resilient. And the cavalry was the army, was the law and order as a rule. It protected large areas. Each town had its own sheriff, had its own autonomous sort of look, but the army looked after larger areas because that was a leftover of the Civil War. You needed something to do with this large amount of trained soldiers. You just couldn't drop them back as unemployed into the population. It would have destroyed the economy. So they did keep a cavalry going west, for an exploratory force for quite a while. So let's look at the opposites of that. We won't have a lone hero. We can have an ensemble. It won't be set in the frontier. Well, it sort of has to be if it's going to be a Western. There won't be a showdown. Again, but there won't be a showdown. There'll be no bandits, there'll be no outlaws, there'll be no lawmen, there won't be revenge. All those things are the opposite. So we remove all the things we know and just look at what's left. So we're beginning to see that, okay, there was always sort of an anti-hero in Westerns, so we'll stick with that as well. So we'll still make it a single person, and we'll make the law, because rather than having a sheriff, we'll make him the anti-hero. So he's going to be a bad sheriff. Stagecoaches, so we'll move stagecoaches from this because the railway's coming to town. So the town's going to die off. Okay, the town's going to disappear. There's going to be no money left. Since this guy is a bad sheriff, he has corruption. So let's say the bandits that are there aren't really bandits. They're criminals for hire. They still do bad things, but they pay him a commission. He doesn't investigate them. He doesn't chase them down. He doesn't stop them from doing their badness. He stops them from doing really bad things, but he controls it. So the town's not really in love with this guy. And we'll say that the saloon's a bit of a hotbed of badness as well. So he's trying to protect the saloon. So his income now isn't just a little pittance that the people pay. So he's not a farmer. So he doesn't have a farm. He survives purely from corrupt funds, money from that, and taking backhanders. So when the railway comes, it's going to bring law and order, but maybe the railway isn't going to stop at his town. Maybe the railway station is going to be somewhere else, which will turn his town into a ghost town. So he can pretend to love his town, but he won't. That railway is going to kill him. So we now have an idea of the shape of the movie. We have a corrupt, lawless guy. It's in the Old West. It's at the end of the Old West. We're getting railway stations. We're getting a little bit of technology. So now let's do a pastel analysis. That's P-E-S-T-L-E. E-L, sorry, dyslexia. And pastel stands for political, economic, social, technology, environmental, and legal. So by looking at those, sci-fi would have been a better choice for showing how this tool works. You put down what you know about each of these things, and it will tell you your world. It's a fantastic world building tool, and we use it for decisions in Intel. We're going to put a program together that's going to do this to affect this industry and drive this along. So what's the political fallout? What's the economic fallout for whatever people that are involved? What's society going to think of the government's actions or the army's action, the intelligence agents' actions? What technology is going to be needed? What's the available technology for doing this? What's the economic impacts? Are the environmental impacts? Are we going to have to do something with the environmental lobbies? And what's our legal standing on it? How do we do it? So that's our pastel analysis. When you use it in storytelling, you answer the same questions. Politically, what's this? Well, the Old West were territories. They didn't have statehood yet, which meant they had no local representation. They may have a mayor for the town. Everyone might get together and say, oh, we're going to pick him to go to meetings with other towns, so he's going to be our mayor. And we've got the sheriff who's going to keep people around. So they've got local law and they've got a local infrastructure, but that's about as good as they had. So politically, they didn't have political drivers in the story. Economic. The town was surviving but not growing because, as we know, corruption stops growth. So people weren't willing to trade with this town a lot because you had the sheriff tax. So economically, it's not a very big town, but he's the wealthiest guy in town because he is corrupt. And people really can't afford to move on because they don't have the money to move out. He's the ghost in the machine. He's sort of the terror. He's got things tied up. He's a hero and anti-hero at the same time. He's stopping real bad things, but he's the bad thing. Socially, well, we've discussed that in a way. We've got a sheriff who's acting corruptly. Some people like him, some people hate him. Society's subsistence living. Farmers are making stuff and selling it, and there's maybe a market, or maybe the stagecoach also runs a service that goes back to another bigger town where there's a marketplace where they can sell things, so he's got a bit of that tied up as well. So society is subsistence, hand to mouth, local trade. I grow corn, I'll give you some corn, you kill a cow for me and we'll swap that. You get enough corn for the year, I get enough meat for 6 months, whatever it happens to be. There's all those sorts of things. That's societies, that's how it operates. People are self-sufficient, an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth. We understand that sort of thing. The sheriff might stop that because they don't want things to happen. They don't want people. He wants to control with a bit of an iron fist. So that's how society's operating. Technology. Trains are coming, but I don't know if they'll have a telegraph yet. We may or may not have a telegraph. We don't have electricity. We don't have gas. We have wood-powered things. We have a stagecoach. We potentially have the train. No sewer. That's what we have. It's very, very basic frontier living. Environmental. There's no environmental concerns, but we can sort of say that because it's the Old West, we won't have it in a lush part of the town. We'll have it in a lush valley or heavily wooded areas. We'll have it in a very bleak plains existence. So water then becomes a risk. So we'll have that as environmental impact. If you go too far out of town, if they ride you out of town on a horse for 4 hours and drop you in the desert and ride back, you may die of heat exhaustion. So we've got that thing like in Batman, out on the ice. So the desert also stops people from going too far. It sort of captures them. So there's the environmental there. And the legal one, well, he's the lawman. They're a territory. They're not a state. They don't have representation. They may vote. we have that now. We know the law now. That's your pestle analysis. Done. The next thing you would do, the next tool you would use would be something called a empathy matrix. And this is, you may have the 50 questions you like. You do the Harper Bazaar sort of thing with your characters. You may ask them about their friends. You might write a bio about them. All that stuff, ripper, great. This is the thing we use to understand what a person's potential actions might be in response to what we do when we do an intelligence assessment. We do an intel assessment, so we're going to do this, and this will probably have this effect on them. And what that is, is what have they said in the past about a situation? What have they done about this situation? What have they seen in this situation as a whole? And what have they heard about this situation? And is this situation good for them, or is this situation bad for them? You can do this a lot. It will help you understand your character down to a single scene. Oh, this is happening in this scene. I'm going to do a quick empathy matrix and see what it means. So let's look at the sheriff. The train's coming. That's probably going to bring law. So we're going to say there's going to be a new marshal coming. There's going to be a new sheriff because it does. And the train station won't be in his town, it'll be at another town or a new town being set up. They're going to build a train station there and build infrastructure around the train station, and that's going to have its own law. Maybe he's been sort of told this is coming, or he thinks he's going to get the job there, or he's been told that that's being taken care of and his town's got to look after its own. His town will be allowed to survive, but he knows people are already beginning to move in that direction or make, words are happening about the new town and how good it's going to be. And people have heard it. It's going to have a road. They're talking of building a dam or a water tower and pumping the water up from the river. And people will be able to just go and get water. You don't have to go and have there's going to be conversations. So how does he feel? How has he felt about change in the past? Well, he stopped it. He's always opposed change. That's been his actions. People want to open up a new general store. He's gone, no, we've got one. Sell through them. So there's been a bit of that. I'm going to control all the change in this town. There's going to be no change that I don't have my thumbprint on. So he's opposed change. What has he said about things in the past? Well, he said that it's okay, but he's never acted that it's okay. Verbally, he's never outspoken about it. So he's not going to say he's bad about this change, but he's going to try to put things in place because we've seen he's put things in place before to stop change. What does he feel about this change? Well, he's scared. He can see that it's going to ruin his town. He can see that it's going to take money off him. It's going to ruin the wheel and dealing he's got with that criminal over there and the saloon and the extra cash he's got. So it's a threat to his income. It's a threat to his town. It's a threat to his kingdom. So we know if he sees this as a kingdom, he's a bit of a narcissist. So these are just things I'm making up as I go along. We're beginning to see a story form. And this is bad for him. And that feeds into something important. So how does he feel? He feels worried. He says positive things, but they're not real. He's acted to stop change in the past, and he's hearing big things about the town. He's heard that it's going to be prosperous, that it once happened St. Louis, it happened down somewhere else. And he's heard of towns dying when the railway comes. So he's heard it, he's spoken, he has acted in the past, and we know how he feels, and we know it's bad for him. That good and bad is important because people are motivated by three things. That is dissatisfaction, suffering, or jealousy. If you're really happy with your life, you're not going to do anything to threaten that. If you're really happy with your car, you're not going to do anything to change it. It's when you're going, this car's getting a bit old, the repair bills are costing me more, it's going through tyres a lot, I'm always doing wheel alignments, I might buy a new car. I'm unhappy in my relationship, nothing's working, I've tried to fix it, we've come to these, and that's what they say in divorce, irreconcilable differences. You're both suffering, time to make a change. People change for those three things. They're suffering, they're unhappy, or they see someone else who's got a far better thing and they want that. So those are the three things. Now there's two versions of those, medicine and vitamin. Right? So people are doing this to prevent a bad thing coming. That's the vitamin approach. It's happening right now. That's the medicine approach. The medicine approach is more active. The vitamin approach is based on fear. Oh, that's going to happen. Or I've heard he's getting that. I'm jealous that he's going to be getting that. Or there's this new thing coming in. I'm not happy with what I've got. Or there's the railway coming, and that's going to bring me suffering. So I want to stop that. So He's at the moment in vitamin stage, which means he won't take immediate action. He'll start wheeling and dealing. He'll try to get other people to do the work for him. That tends to be the actions of a person in vitamin stage. But we always need to suss out what people's pain points were, either when you're trying to solve a problem for them or when you're trying to figure out why they're doing what they're doing. Why are they doing that? Well, they're really greedy and they want money because they feel they're jealous of the greater world. They believe they want more money. They're suffering because of a past trauma and they're trying to solve it by these actions going forward. So those your motivations are to resolve pain. And is it acting preemptively, acting to solve a problem now? And we understand it because we've done the empathy matrix. We understand how they feel about a scenario and why they're suffering from the scenario will drive their actions together. That's how these tools work together. The next thing you would do, and it's a very, very good thing to do, it's a really easy tool, is you draw a line down the center of a bit of paper and you put everything the person wants in one column, and on the other side you put everything that's stopping them from getting it. So what does this guy want? He wants to keep control of his town. He wants his town to survive because he wants the money. He wants to maintain his livelihood as the king of the town. So he's got control, but he also wants the status. And he wants his town to survive because he wants the money coming in. He wants to maintain his links to the outlaws because the outlaws keep control for him. So that's 4 for now. That'll be enough. So what's going to stop him from maintaining control? Well, if the new town gets a sheriff and it's a bigger town and his town begins to die, there won't be enough income in his town. That town might just swallow his town. He's going to lose control. So he's going to stop that from happening. That's one thing that's pushing back against him. The railway is threatening his survival. So he's going to push back against the railway. So the railway is looking like it's going to be the big bad, doesn't it? The new sheriff might want him as a deputy, which will lower his status in the eyes of people, so he won't maintain his king-like status. The outlaws, the new town will also threaten the outlaws, which threatens his power structure, which threatens his income. So let's say the stagecoach is corrupt as well, and the barkeeper. So all these things are opposing his ability to maintain this. Now we've got that one thing to hook our story on, the one big antagonist. The railway is in this town. So just like in the film Sully, where the plane crashes on the Hudson, you had this board of air safety or whatever, but we had to put a person there that we could hate, which was the one guy that was running the commission. It's probably not how it works. I've worked in government. There's huge faceless commissions. It's a board of people. There's quite often an ORC, an operational review committee, so decisions are reviewed by a committee and put forward. It's not normally a person that makes that decision. So, and they collect evidence and work on that. So we need to put a person around this. I'm thinking that the new town is being funded, because why wouldn't you just go to the town? Let's say there's a new town is being funded by a person. He's sinking a whole lot of money into that town to get the railway to go there. So he's bought up all this land. So he's an economic criminal, where our sheriff is just a good old criminal. So there's money going into this town. The railway's going to be there. He's going to build a church. He's going to do this and that, and he's making arrangement for a marshal to be stationed there. Maybe the cavalry will have an outpost. So he's putting money there. And that makes it really hard on the sheriff. So at this point in time, so we've now sort of designed an antagonist. We know the town's coming. There's a town over there. The railway's coming, which was the end of the Old West anyway. So it's going to ruin this guy's livelihood. We'll say this guy, the sheriff, was an ex-soldier. That would be good because he would have been through war, a bit of PTSD. He's used to violence. Probably wouldn't have a lot of empathy because of all the violence he's seen. That's why he works with maybe the bandits. Maybe some of the bandits were old brothers in arms. So he's a violent individual, used to doing things in violent ways. We'll make this guy the complete opposite. This guy's a businessman, but just as corrupt. He's going to be doing things wheelie-dealy. So let's look at an oppositional matrix, which is so it's a standard 4x4. Actually, we'll do the oppositional matrix in the next video. Look at this, make some comments. I'm going to do these in a few videos, otherwise it's going to be a super long video. And tell me what you think. We'll do an oppositional matrix next, so we can begin to figure out the protagonist and antagonist roles, and I'll have a little bit of a think about this, rather than just blurt a whole movie out, which might not be that good. I'm going to sit and have a little bit think about these characters and get back to you. But leave comments, leave some things underneath, and we'll figure it out together. The next video will only be a day or so away anyway, while I edit it up. Thanks, guys. Comment away. Keep writing.